Hello. Today I learned that Canada had a large contribution to a huge project, a telescope that is going to be launched in space in a on a Christmas evening, 2021. They are proud of a big achievement, work done over 30 years, 20 something years of actually building that stuff. Supposedly is packing up like a origami, Japanese origami, into a rocket, then launch into space. They already know where this telescope is going to, a kind of a park not far from Earth. Then they hope to use some Canadian made type of camera and some thermal imager um, to look at very distant galaxies. So I assume that the thermal imager is to discover distant objects that emit or broadcast heat waves that can be detected by these very sensitive thermal cameras. So my video here, or my thought about this one, it's interesting to see humans how they um, try to discover. The need for knowledge, which is a human type of trait. Animals are seeking knowledge mostly for survival. Uh, they look for food, they map the food resources, and that keeps them alive. I don't know if the animals really have a behavior that helps them to discover the world and have philosophical communication among themselves and do more than survival. We don't know that. But humans are a little bit different, so they are beyond survival, most of them. I mean, if we look at the developed states in the world, uh, if we don't see those people living on the streets or being or living from paycheck to paycheck or from day to day, um, people who have enough resources have a large fridge, a house, a roof, uh, whatever minimum needs they have. They have enough energy, mind energy, to try to discover something else. So uh, if is more than the body needs to survive, then the next is the entertainment. So we need something to keep us busy and find some sort of good times. And some people are seeking that in order to find happiness. Anyway, so and after that, if there's any energy left or any resources left, people are going into this type of extras, like do you need the jewelry before entertainment or after entertainment? But for sure the jewelry comes after the food, so you need the food for the survival purpose, shelter, and I mean, without shelter you can survive, but you need the food. Then you know the point I'm trying to make. Now, since our fridge has some food, and since it's Canada, I can afford to do some philosophical talk. And in this video, I'm going to make some comments about consciousness and how it expands. These people, the scientists, are trying to not only play and enjoy what they do, use their curious mind to find knowledge and or gain knowledge and significance and make a career, and is beyond survival in those cases. But some are dreamers. They think that their discoveries are going to be somewhere written in the history, and their name is going to be remembered forever, another 100 years or something. Every scientist have their own reasons. I met a bunch, um, including people I used to fly with, and they are interesting characters. And even myself, I have a scientific, like a research type of mind. I don't just get the information, including religious information. I don't just get the information from friends or something and I trust it right away. I need to filter it through my own life experience and understanding, and then I have to verify stuff. And does it make sense? Probably not. But for some time, some things that are written in the Bible started to make sense to me before I tried to put away the idea of reading the Bible. But now it's a bit different. It's like I gained more wisdom, which helps me to see this one through different light, including from the scientific perspective. But there are lots of scientists in the science community. They are atheists. They are not only agnostics. They really are against anything that's religious. Is part of their culture. Is their work and community culture. We don't talk. We don't approach anything related to religion. We are special. We are educated. We are university graduates. We don't mix with those guys who go to church. Those are limited. This is an attitude, an arrogant attitude many scientists show, and that's one of the reasons I want to record some of my thoughts to make those who watch my videos think that I don't want to make you think, but I want to express my my opinion, and I'm trying to say that uh, if you fall for someone explanation or someone's degree, or just because the person went through some university and was indoctrinated in that university by a school of thought or by someone else who got the job as a professor or whatever, lecturer or whatever, doesn't mean they speak the truth, doesn't mean they know stuff. I mean, some stuff in the science can be measured. We have tools like, okay, this is this much, this hot, this temperature. Things are uh, measurable. You can have formulas that can be verified, but not everything uh, goes to the basis of the existence. So some formulas start from this level, like I mentioned into another video before, uh, how they verified the theory about atoms, that atom is a solid material or something, or it's a particle that makes up solid matter. And people think, the atom must be made out of some sort of a solid nuclei with some solid electrons that fly around like little planets flying around the sun. And to me, that's false. That's false because people don't think about energy nature of the atom, and they just imagine, okay, if a bunch of little balls connected together makes a solid object, probably the atom itself is made out of a solid nuclei, right? So people start from a wrong starting point, and they build up these theories and formulas, and they try to verify, and then they build up like a new scientific reality. What's the matter? What's the body made of? Or how we think? Even the thinking, the idea of the mind is also false. They think that the mind or the consciousness is generated by the brain, which is half true. I don't know, half or how 30% or 5% truth. There is some truth, but that's not the whole thing. Now, my point here, before I go to bed, um, you have this telescope in the space, and the purpose is to discover light that comes from distant objects, distant planets, light in the form of infrared light or other type of radiation, but generally light that travels billions of years, and they think, okay, this is going to help us to find the beginnings of the universe. And so they spend lots of money, but I'm telling you what they are going to discover. They are discover that this universe it has kind of a no end, and they won't find the beginnings because it has no start and no end. The farther you discover, what happens, you add information to the consciousness. So the consciousness, let's consider a product of a special machine. Other people think it's a god. God generate a consciousness, which we are made of. Our minds are made of, and our bodies are product of the mind and this consciousness. And I mentioned that before. Our bodies are made of energy. It's like a thought, and from that thought we expand and we start growing the idea of a reality. So when we are born here in the so-called material form, we are energy again, but we are born as a reality here, as a specks of consciousness that is growing, is evolving. And each mind purpose is to evolve, and is like we can consider this consciousness like a tree with multiple branches and multiple roots, and each branch start evolving. So we come here as a specks of consciousness. We are born because that's the way the consciousness was designed for this aspect to kind of create a new world, like a sort of a game, of a computer game. So new world, and it's a process of giving birth into a made up material world. So from a soul, which is part of the consciousness, a, it's a transition into a material form, which is still energy, but it's a different type of energy, which is part of the same consciousness. And then that soul or that energy into the material form becomes a new human body, that has a consciousness on its own, but still attached or part of that tree of consciousness. And while this human is growing, is learning new stuff. And I mentioned into yesterday recording, start learning the concept of time and space, but actually is just consciousness evolving, like expanding our knowledge horizon. And some people grow larger in space and time, other people stay within a smaller area, and for them time flows differently. Other people fly at different speeds, time flies differently. So this concept and space is variable for everyone. Even we are supposed to be in synchronism, if we are supposed to have the same understanding of different parameters of this consciousness, like space and time. We are supposed to synchronize our times. Um, we are supposed to understand the notion of space, and we have these reference points as the planet and other items that makes the meter or other measurement units. So we are being taught how to have an interpretation of space and time, but these ones are variable, actually are variable for everyone. And uh, we try to expand our knowledge, which is part of this consciousness, and us on this planet are expanding. Is like everyone is expanding their bubble of consciousness, which in at the greater scale is expanding the whole consciousness. And creatures from other planets do the same thing because they are part of the consciousness. And in as whole, the whole thing, the whole energy, it's expanding all the time. So we just contribute to kind of creating this large bubble of stuff. And by going out with telescopes, we just help expanding this knowledge. So we help expanding the knowledge of of this consciousness at the planetary level. We discover these things, distance, but actually it's like the more we seek further, the more we investigate, the bigger it becomes because the consciousness itself is growing. So we we grow our knowledge level at an individual level, at the planetary level, and at the same time it grows this huge computer or machine or maybe game we are part of. And if we are part of some sort of a special game, so we are assigned with the DNA code, so we get emotions and feelings and the sense of being alive and having own thinking and consciousness and freedoms and stuff. Uh, so beside that, we actually are part of this bigger. Like I said, I don't know if I can call it a computer game. It's just in the terms that you have a power to understand. And this is my end of the video, and it's now like past 12:30, and that was the idea. So these people are going out in space, they are seeking to find answers, and they will never find answer because this thing is expanding. So their search actually make this thing to become bigger. So so the more they seek, the less they find. So I mean, it's like okay, we are having fun finding an answer, We found something, but we are chasing the answer. Why? Because we don't want to think that there is a creator of this consciousness. Is, there is no space and time, so even we think we sent something in space, there is not such a thing. Everything is localized into, let's say, could be a machine, could be the brain of a very powerful god that have a such a large a computing power, or we can't comprehend. It's like I said, it's beyond our power of understanding, imagination, and comprehension. And it's if we go chasing these answers with God in mind, it would be much easier to find the answers because we would get closer to a God thinking. So if we get closer to the God or the Creator thinking, then we know, okay, our answers are there, and the more we seek, the more this one grows. So, like, we help this Creator become more complex and bigger. And when we seek answer, actually, we want to troubleshoot and narrow down. We want to zoom in somehow to find the answer, like the needle in a haystack. We want to eliminate eliminate all the things that are identical, and we could find only things that are different, which is the needle, which is different in the haystack. So what we do here, we just add to the complexity. We build telescopes, which is a complex machinery. We discover distant planets and lives and stuff. But this is the creation of the consciousness. So we add information to this machinery or to this God, and we make it more complex. The more we seek the complex, it appears. And that way we never find answers. But it's fun game. It's fun game to help the human race to keep pushing it for answers, to keep seeking answers. Maybe one day some scientists would wake up and say, you know what, instead of trying to find answers and we'll never find it, and we just make the world more complex. If that's the goal, to make the world appear more complex, that's the goal, it's fine. But if we want the simple life and simple answer easy, just need to think of God as or a creator. It's much easier to think that way. So let you go. See you later. Bye bye.